Hey guys, how's everybody doing? We're here again to talk about ketamine at the Neo Medicine Institute. Today we're going to touch different subjects. I'm Dr. Host, Dr. Liliana here. So we wanted to clarify something that is a big of a myth about ketamine. And every time that I engage a conversation and I say the word ketamine, somebody tells me, that's a horse tranquilizer.
Oh no.
I'm sure you have heard it probably, but
Yes.
everybody has that kind of idea that it is, and I wanted to clarify that it's not. So the way that ketamine was developed is it was developed in 1966 as an anesthetic, so for humans, and it was approved by the FDA in 1970. It was always for humans, but just like a lot of medications, like antibiotics, for example, same antibiotics that we use for humans, we use it for animals. If you take your dog to the vet, a lot of the medications that they're going to use, even anesthetics, are going to be the same. So to clear that myth, no, ketamine is not a horse tranquilizer. It's a medication that was developed for humans. And just like any other medications or some other medications, it's being used for veterinary.
Yes.
And now we're finding all these benefits about ketamine in the mental health realm.
Yes.
And that's what we're talking today, right? And we wanted to talk a little bit about the patient selection, who's a good candidate. And we wanted to touch both sides, me from the clinical side,
Right.
and you from the mental health aspect,
Right,
right?
right.
So we'll start with you. Who is a good candidate for ketamine?
So that's a good question. At this point, really, most people are great candidates for ketamine. What we do have to be mindful of is diagnosis of psychosis. So if you have a diagnosis of schizophrenia, bipolar, the manic aspect of those conditions can be very dangerous with ketamine. So those we tend to not want to do the treatment for unless maybe their psychiatrist is managing their medications, and that's something that we will actually work very closely with in that moment. But people suffering from depression, anxiety, trauma, past emotional challenges that they just haven't been able to get over.
OCD?
Yes, OCD.
PTSD. We have a lot of vets
PTSD.
that have been doing great.
Even addiction at this point
yes.
is showing promising
More
results.
alcoholism, and the research
Yes.
is there, and we've had a couple of patients with
Yeah.
alcoholism that they have done great.
Yes.
So, you can't put everybody in a category. It's an individualized
Correct.
decision a lot
Yep.
of times. And from the medical side, ketamine is very safe, but it needs medical supervision.
Yes.
The contraindications to ketamine are going to be severe heart disease, patients that have uncontrolled high blood pressure, and some of the things that we don't see in the population, like high intracranial pressure, meaning you have a tumor in your brain,
Okay.
and
Yep.
it can increase that pressure. But most of it is going to be very safe for everybody. Now, you do need a medical specialist supervisor.
Yes.
And this is another subject that we wanted to talk. There's some clinics out there that, as you know,
Yes.
are sending ketamine through the mail to patients. And they say, okay, you have to take it with a chaperone, or you have to take it
Right.
in a specific manner. But I'm going to talk about me. My opinion is that it creates a sense of safety, false sense of safety,
Right,
and availability.
Right.
No? That can have the potential for abuse.
Correct. So it takes away what we're trying to do of it being a controlled environment,
Completely.
both clinically and with the substance.
And we do know that the setting is very important when you're
Extremely.
trying to get the results,
Extremely.
right? Because what we do here is an introspective experience.
Right.
We bring the patient inside himself. When you
Right.
do it recreationally or with other distractions, it creates a different environment.
Correct.
Where you're exposed to all these sensory inputs and you don't get the benefits.
Right. And my concern is also, are they receiving therapy? That for
Completely.
me is the biggest concern,
Completely.
because if you're just studying these individuals with the pill at home, how are they making sense of what they're going through? How are they making sense of what they're experiencing? How do I apply it now to my life?
And the data is conclusive that
Correct.
psychotherapy
Is an
is-
absolute necessity.
It's a must
Is a
with
necessity.
ketamine. So we want the audience out there to understand that part. Ketamine without the psychotherapy component, you're not going to get the same results. And
And
this
sure,
has been proven over and over.
And you may see some improvement. I'm not going to lie and say you're not going to see some improvement without the mental health, but it's not going to be the full scope. You're not going to optimize the results.
And
of
the
what you're
reason
gonna
why is
receive.
because ketamine is going to make it easy for you to understand your past traumas, to
Yes.
connect the frontal cortex with the limbic system, so the
Correct.
conscious and unconscious mind, do all these changes, increase blood flow,
Right.
things that we have talked in the past. But then the psychotherapy is what is going to change that programming, maladaptive thoughts,
Right.
and it's going to cement these new behaviors that you're trying to promote, right?
And you know what I've noticed, Dr. De La Hoz, the patients that we've done so far, even myself doing it, on the second session, sometimes even the third, it's negative.
Yeah.
They tend to feel sad emotions, or like the emotions that we tend to not really want to feel, right?
Right, that we try to detach ourselves from feeling.
Right, but that is actually the ketamine working.
Completely.
Because it's bringing all that, like what you said, the subconscious and the conscious together.
And making you more
connecting.
aware of this.
Yes, so how do you deal with the floodgates? How I tell my patients, the floodgates will open on you if you don't have anyone helping you, if you don't have anyone
and guiding you
through it. Because the second or third session can also say, you know what, I didn't feel good, I don't want to do this anymore.
Completely.
But we have to push through and allow them to recognize you have to.
Yeah.
You have to feel it.
Completely.
Yes.
The therapy has been great in doing
Yes.
that for our patients. And now let's talk about the expectations. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of fear going into a ketamine experience, especially when you're doing it for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we get. A lot of patients, they don't know what to expect. They're
Right.
scared. We're here to talk about what that is. So I know that you do a lot of preparation, and that's one of your expertises, preparation for ketamine. So tell us, what should a patient expect when they're going into a ketamine treatment?
I think the first session is expected, where they're not gonna let go so much. I think
Right.
in our modern society, we all have challenges in letting go.
Completely.
And that could be.
We want to control
in
everything,
right?
right?
We lose control when we can't control.
Yeah.
But this is a false idea. Most of our lives is out of our control.
Completely.
And we do have to understand when to be vulnerable with that. So the first session is almost like a trial and run. How am I going to feel? What does this feel like? It is going to be very small dose, like you mentioned earlier.
Completely.
So you are going to feel like a dreamlike state.
Yes, it's a waking dream state, and you have
waking.
full control. You can stop it at any
Yes,
time. I
yes.
want to make that clear with the lowest doses.
Yes.
And that's the other thing. When you do it here in this safety, intravenously, you
Right.
can stop it. You
Right.
take it orally, or you take it in any other route.
You're at
Once
that
it's
mercy.
in,
Right.
that's it.
You're at that
You
mercy.
can't really stop it. So
Right.
for first-time users, or for the first session, I always encourage patients to do it intravenously, because that's how we
Yes.
can control, and we have, full control. We are monitoring vital signs and everything.
agree.
And it gives it also a sense of safety to the patient, right? Which is
Right.
very important.
Right. And like you said, because they're able to move with such a low dose, we can even think about, safety symbols or safety Jan Hesters, to say, okay, I don't want to do this right now.
Right.
It's too much.
Right.
But the first session is usually like, okay, I have an idea what this feels like. I'm sleeping, but I'm awake at the same
Right.
time. Second session kind of improves. You get a little more sense of, okay, I want to let go more.
It's surrendering to that experience,
Yes.
right? Little by
Yes.
little, you surrender. You disconnect. You're able to disconnect.
Correct.
To-
Usually by the third, you're ready.
That's the turning
you
point.
want it, and you're saying,
Yeah,
"Let's go."
the
I'm
third
ready
one is
for
the
it.
turning
Yes, the
point,
third
yeah.
one is where people are actually excited
Yeah.
about what's coming.
Completely.
But the first one, and I actually like people bringing a partner, a friend, someone that they feel comfortable with, aside from us professionals with them, in the room with them,
Yeah.
so that they know, hey, they're with you. Someone is there with you that
Completely.
you feel comfortable with.
Yes, no, that makes a big difference.
Yes, it does.
And then going to the therapy session after,
Yes. Yes.
before and after, is very important.
Is
right?
very important, because I highly encourage my patients, I actually require them, like, I hate to use that word, but highly suggested, required, that you journal. Because you're gonna start having connections and kind of aha moments as you go through your weeks and days in between these sessions. It's not always in the moment that you have these moments, it's after the fact. As your brain is moving, as you go throughout your day, you start making connections like, oh, wait a minute, that's what I saw in that session. This is how it makes sense in my life. And with therapy, it begins to make sense.
Completely. And then at the sixth session, we see all these changes. And so far, the reason we believe so much in ketamine is because we have seen the changes that it
Correct.
causes.
Correct.
Now, I'm also going to say that ketamine is not for everybody.
Yeah.
We have to say that.
Yeah.
In my opinion, it's a tool in the toolbox for patients that have tried other things. And
Right.
if ketamine can give something to a patient, and I can summarize it in one word, it would be hope, right?
Yeah.
And I think we have mentioned
We
that
talked about
before.
that. Yes, hope.
So it's giving hope to patients. That's what ketamine therapy is doing. So we want to thank you, everybody, for watching our video. If you do have any questions, anything that you want us to talk about in the next sessions, please let us know, and
Yeah.
we'll be happy to discuss. It's always a pleasure to have you, Dr.
Likewise,
Lee.
Dr. Mills.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.